He has a 1-1 count. That one struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the race. You have got to be kidding me. Fireworks. And here you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome all. More high and tight. This is beyond high and tight as we get the chance to do a little bit of a primer here on the Iowa Baseball Network, the IA Baseball Network. Again, thank you for tuning in. I am Andrew Brown, helping you bring through what is a fun time here. If you didn't get the chance, make sure to catch up on our conversation with David Mickey Evans, creator of The Sandlot. We got the chance to talk to him and break down that iconic movie as Major League Baseball gets into spring training and everything is rearing and getting back up, and opening day not too far off in the future. But for right now, we get the chance to prime up what is going to be the start of the season coming up very shortly for the Wartburg Knights. And we got the chance, a couple weeks ago anyway, to chat with the one and only Coach Klunder about what the team is looking for, what he's looking out for in terms of guys bringing into the program. And now we get to talk more about those guys in particular, more about the program, I should say, as it gets ready. Sunday is the start of baseball for Wartburg, as that will be a doubleheader there before they get to abandon this wonderful weather that we have here in Iowa right now to head to Florida. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring him on, the guy who runs the ship, steers the ship here for Wartburg baseball, Coach Klunder, joining us on the Insulites hotline. And Coach, thanks again as always for taking the time.
Always a pleasure, Andrew. Thanks for having me on today.
And I got to ask here, first and foremost, we talk about right now as we sit, it's hard for a lot of us as we are, walk outside and you can see water freeze instantly to think about baseball. But where's your head at when it comes to, where we're at right now? What's your team looking like? I mean, kind of take us through the mindset of a coach right now as we get ready to go and hit the baseball scene.
I think the first thing we are right now is probably amateur meteorologists. It seems like that, as much as I want to watch film on our opponents and on our practices and things like that, it seems like the tab that's open most on my computer is AccuWeather or weather.com or PeriWeather or something like that. So frustrating time of year for that right now. Last year, it was probably the best we had ever had with January, February weather, and this year might be the worst. We were outside a couple times really early, ironically, but we've been inside now for 3 straight weeks, and actually one of the cranks to our batting cage broke, so we've been down a cage here too. So we're lucky at Wartburg. We have beautiful facilities and a big field house to practice in, and hitting simulator out at our field that we can utilize. And so we're fortunate. We're getting the work in that we need to get in. And we're looking forward to hopefully playing some baseball this weekend.
Yeah, and my next question was just that. How do you prepare when you fight the weather here? Eventually, of course, when you get outside, you're going to have to play against the weather here. And that's no news. You guys have done that time and time again wherever you've been here in the state of Iowa here. But what's the biggest combat to weather like this, extreme cold? Normally you guys aren't afraid if there's a little flurries coming down or even some snow on the ground. I've seen you practice in that. But what's the protocol? How do you make sure you get in, like you said, all the necessary things you need when the weather just is fighting you every step of the way?
Well, we're fortunate with the facilities at Wartburg that allow us to do that. I think a couple nights ago we had all the curtains in the field house up, and we can almost simulate a full field to do some cuts and some relays and tandem cuts and things like that. Our batting cage situation allows for live pitcher versus hitter cage matches. We have a batting cage that the guys can utilize during the day that's not in the field house, so it doesn't conflict with anything else going on. And so we're getting the work in. We're getting the work in we need. indoors right now, and it's not dissimilar to any other Midwest team right now.
Mhm.
But one of the mentality things that we've tried to share with our guys as we navigate weather, even this upcoming weekend, is that we need to have the mentality to play, anybody, anywhere, anytime. And our opponents have changed for this weekend already, with some cancellations with weather, and and the facilities change where we're going to play. And so we've tried to tell people, or to our people, that um, anytime, any place, when they tell us to play, we'll show up. And
Yep.
that's a good mentality to have as a ball club. And honestly, it comes back to controlling the controllables. What a coaching cliche there, but it's a cliche because it's true.
Yeah.
That when the umpires show up and we get handed a couple baseballs, let's take the field and let's play ball. We're excited about that.
Hmm. And no doubt, again, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Klunder joining us here on the Insights.com hotline as we go ahead and break down what will be for the season ahead. I also, aside from the weather, aside from dealing with all of that here, it's been a lot of time in practice, a lot of time working, a lot of time beyond just the normal time you have with your athletes. I know we talked a little bit about it here last time, but take us through again the changes that have been there for baseball here at the collegiate level, especially here when we talk about Warburg in particular. What are the changes like for you in terms of when you can see guys, all the differences that D3 baseball have kind of changed with? How is that? How have you guys worked with that? How has that changed things? And how excited are you, or on the reverse side of that, with these changes?
So the regular season actually starts in late January, and we have about a 4 week period before our first game.
Hmm.
And it's a universal start date now. You used to have to pick your weeks, and however many weeks you use in the fall, you got less in the spring.
Yep.
And now it's a universal start date, which is good. And a team could. There was a couple teams that chose to play, a week ago, but you can spread out your 40 games, 16 non-conference in our conference. You
Hmm.
can spread those out however you want. We'll use, now it's down to two this weekend, and then we'll play in Florida. And then we have a non-conference series with St. Olaf, which is our home opener. And then we'll
Yep.
play a midweek later on, and we'll actually play a bye matchup between us and the MIAC, which that's how we'll get our 16 non-conference in. But what they did is they give you 24 dates, and
Hmm.
you can spread those amongst the fall and actually in the 2 weeks leading up to the universal start date.
Okay.
And so, obviously, you're going to want to use a majority of those in the fall when the weather's a little nicer.
Yep.
But we were able to save a few back to get started here a little earlier in January, which really helped with pitchers on ramping.
Yeah.
It used to have to be when you started in late January and then played in late February. You were just hoping your pitchers did what they needed to do, and it's certain to a certain extent still like that in the December months. But as you get closer to January and into mid January, we got the guys together a few times to throw some bullpens and start some stuff earlier. So we feel really good about where we're at. And with the character of our team, the energy of our team, it hasn't felt like a drag inside.
Okay.
We cautioned our team not to use the word grind for this period. I know it's a word that's out there, a lot of
Hmm.
buzzword, but honestly, like when you're with your friends and you're playing baseball, I'd give anything to go back and hang out with my college buddies again, and be in the gym throwing the ball around in the field house or whatever. And so they tell you you're going to miss playing baseball, and that's true when you're done. But you're also going to miss the camaraderie with the guys and the bus trips and the hotels and the restaurants and stuff like that too. So we're trying to take advantage of all those opportunities. So I don't love the word grind this time of year, and our guys have done just a good job of staying positive. And some of our practice slots are kind of late at night, but they love baseball and they love
Yep.
each other. And when you have those things, you can have some real productive practices, no matter the weather, no matter the time slot.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And man, a lot of these guys I mean, put in the grind. All of them put in the grind. Obviously, you and I talked about that last time. You have to love it. You have to want to put in the grind, and certainly they do. Let's dive into just some of these guys here, Coach. And I want to. I know you could talk about all these guys here for hours and hours, and trying to boil it down is a pretty tall task. But I did want to ask here, taking a look at what this program did last year. A lot of guys on that roster that really had a lot of good, really good seasons. Really fun to watch them play overall, and a lot of different things going on there. But first and foremost, who are some of the guys? Let's talk about some of the returners. Some of the guys that, yes, familiar faces. Who are some of the guys that I know you're excited for everyone, so I'll just ask about this. Who are some of the faces, returning faces or fan favorites that we might be able to see here, and again, that you'll lean on once we get the season started?
Yeah, we returned three all-conference players, so I think we'll start there. Zach Walton at first base from Farmington, Minnesota. Started every year he's been in the program. This is his fifth year. He broke a few school records last year, and I think he's going to probably break a few more big milestones this year. We return our center fielder, Elliot Jurgensen,
Mhm.
from Ames, Iowa. Was a really good high school player at Ames, and back then they were in the CIML, and he's been a 4-year starter as well. And our third one is Joey Sierra from Illinois, Glen Ellen, Illinois.
Mhm.
And it's nice to have him back. He's a grad student. We're very fortunate at Wartburg that we have great grad programs. We're actually adding several more grad programs now. And so I'm a little torn on some of this COVID and sticking around for these extra years if it's just more undergrad, and Wartburg did a good job of not charging full price and
Uh-huh.
things like that. I feel better about it when Joey's in his 6th year, but he's also going to walk out of here with 2 Wartburg degrees.
Yeah.
I think that's really neat. And he
Very.
was able to get a academic GA position across campus, and so that offsets some of the costs too. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have Joey back as an all-conference pitcher for us. So three different positions there: infield, outfield, and pitcher. And so each group can kind of build off the leadership that those 3 young men can provide. I'll highlight a couple more guys that have played a lot.
Hmm.
And I know this is an IA baseball here, so we'll try to
Yeah.
maybe highlight some Iowa guys. Second baseman Caleb Andrews from Center Point Urbana High School
Yep.
is in his 5th year, and he started for a long time in our program. Will Armstrong, a shortstop from Des Moines Roosevelt High School. Um, and let's see, we got catcher. We got Carter Stubitz. He
Yep.
started for a long time too. So we've got some returning guys that have a lot of at bats, and then we have a couple of younger faces that can get in the mix here. We can talk about those
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
We're going to probably again, I'll stick to Iowa guys here, but we have one of our projected third base. We have a couple of them, but 2 of them are from Iowa. And Andrew Robinson from Cedar Rapids Prairie, and Liam Bender from Iowa City Liberty High School. Iowa high school baseball fans will be familiar with those names.
Yeah.
And so we'll see who kind of wins the battle. We also have a young man from Illinois too, but we'll see who kind of wins the battle there. But I'm excited. And this is my 22nd team I've been the head coach of. And
Mm.
I don't remember a time when this many position battles were going on. Um, and so that's exciting as you start. I can't wait to play and see what guys can do. We might, in the doubleheader on Sunday, we might run out 3 or 4 different guys at different spots, and that'll be fun and exciting. We've got a
Yep.
young man from Valley High School, Charlie Kruger, a young man from
Yeah.
Solon, Garrick Turner. I think last year you highlighted Charlie Kruger on opening night. I think he hit like a grand slam to maybe a walk off
Yeah.
runner at Valley. You guys did kind of a piece on that, if you remember that.
Hmm.
We have some veteran outfielders from Iowa, Aiden Brown. I'm not sure if there's any relation down there, but Aiden Brown,
Maybe.
uh, he'll be successful with that last name, right?
Yes, he will.
Uh, young man from Des Moines Roosevelt, and so we've got a lot of guys in the mix right now, and I'm just really excited to see how it all plays out. Cole Greider's another outfielder from Ankeny Centennial. I'll mention another Iowa guy.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, and certainly those guys are going to be. Obviously, it's really fun and to see that. And you mentioned just all the battles there. Man, that has to add a lot when you talk about depth and things that happen like that in this conference. I mean, and obviously non-conference is the same way. But man, you look at the conference slate each year in and year out. Uh, that depth has to come into play more so than I think people think, Coach.
Yeah, I think it does. We're one of our returning starters right now is down with an injury probably for a couple weeks, and so our depth's going to be tested right away. Um, and so we mostly recruit high school players. A lot of those guys were recruited out of high school. We're big into Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
as you know. You're familiar with our roster. We're very big into Iowa, and that's part of the reason I like being on your show so much, just to highlight the players that
Yeah.
we have from Iowa. And every once in a while, we get a transfer that falls into our lap. A couple of those guys did that kind of. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say we're a portal group, but if somebody wants to come home that went further away, or it didn't work out at their school and they want to come home, I'd say we're kind of that group. If they contact us, I wouldn't say we just sift through the portal every day. But if somebody wants to move closer to home that maybe went
Mm-hmm.
further away, we've got that too. And so I'll add an additional transfer in there positionally. Keegan Schmidt is an outfielder catcher from
Yep.
Independence High School. And then
Well,
we got some guys on the mound. We haven't talked about the mound yet, but I don't know how deep I want to go on the mound here, but our projected starters, we talked about Joey.
mm-hmm.
Returning starters Nick Nin from Florida. His connection to Wartburg was his mother actually went. His
Oh,
mother
nice.
actually went to Wartburg years ago, and so he was, we were on his radar pretty early. And then we got a couple of Iowa guys that'll factor in here. Kale Funk, Connor Funk, brothers from Edgewood, Iowa. They
Mm-hmm.
both pitched a lot last year. And then, and speaking of transfers, somebody who wanted to come closer to home. Carson Kniebel, originally from Pleasant
Yes.
Valley High School.
Yes.
He's back. He had been on the East Coast, and he's back. And so, and then the other newcomer that'll probably factor in there is Emerson Alberhosky from Ankeny Centennial.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
freshman. I know you did a couple of their games last year, and it featured him at different times. And so, yeah, we're fortunate to have some of those newcomers to help out the already strong pitching staff that we feel like we had.
Yeah, and it's been what I love about it are these guys truly not only do they put in the grind, but man, are they fun to watch as well. Very exciting stuff here, and just seems like they can adapt to whatever the game is thrown at them in game, in inning. I like especially those last few names you mentioned. Those are guys I really felt did a great job of adapting, as you very well know, to the game itself here. But when as we start to wind down, I just got to ask here as we look at coming on up, doubleheader to start things off. What are you looking for? What are you looking for out of the team right now? The first out of the gates, what are you looking to see? What do you want to see? Ultimately, we want wins. But as you have spoken to me a number of times, there's more that you look at than just the win loss record as a coach. What are you looking for, especially when it comes to games 1 and 2 of the season?
We know our opponent this weekend will be very tough in Illinois College. Honestly, we're pretty focused on ourselves right now. Early in the season, you asked me what we
Yep.
wanted out of it. I want to learn a little bit about our team, figure out some more things we need to work on in the following practices. Hopefully, the game provides us some information to be able to fill up the practice plans the next week and continue to get better before Florida. But we know Illinois College is going to be a well coached team. I'm old enough now to know. I knew Jake Waddle's father before I knew him. I seem to be kind of that age right now, where I know the dads before the sons here. But Jake's done a great job at Illinois College. They made a regional a couple of years ago. They've got, from what little we know about them, they've got most everybody back. That seems to be a theme in the COVID era of Division III baseball, but they've got pretty much everybody back from last year. They'll be a well coached group. They execute a lot of different things in their offense, and it's a perfect opponent to play early in the year
Mhm.
because they're going to throw a lot at you with the bunt game and the run game. They're going to do a lot of different creative things on the bases, and that's good because that'll test our guys. Coach Wada was on a couple of different coaching trees, so we see some we see some familiarity in their scheme from some of the teams in our conference, which will only help us prepare for ARC play here in about a month or so.
Well, and again, uh, ARC. I mean, I almost can't wait for that to happen. I know that we're getting through some of the non-conference here first, but certainly it's going to be fun there. What is it going to take when you look at this conference top to bottom? I mean, what is it going to take to come out anywhere, just near the top? Every year that you see this kind of jostling up at this entire conference lineup from all the way from the top to bottom. What's it going to take to, just for any team in particular, let alone Wartburg, to be that team that remains at the top of this conference or even just near it? Because that seems like you get teams that are, I mean, again, we've seen it every year. High caliber teams continue, and you can be third and you just have a few game difference. This seems like everybody is so close when it comes to the American Rivers Conference.
That's an excellent question, Andrew, and it's going to take perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's going to be bloody. We're all going to be punching each other left and right, and the team that uh, is the teams that stand at the top of the conference at the end of this are going to be because they were able to be resilient and bounce back. Nobody's going to go through this thing unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
I won't make too many predictions. I'm not in the crystal ball business, but I will tell you that I don't think anybody's going to go 24-0.
Yeah.
And so, uh, the teams that can roll with the punches, that can have a tough loss, can they bounce back a half hour later and try and get game two of a doubleheader? Maybe they didn't play well in the first two games of the series. Can they bounce back and get a win in game three? Those little things are really going to add up as you talk about trying to make the tournament, trying to get a better seed in the tournament, trying to get a first round bye in the tournament, trying to survive that tournament. Can if you play well on a Friday night, can you bounce back and follow up your performance? It's kind of like when I used to play horse in the driveway. If you made the first shot to give your opponent E on the end, you had to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to prove it. You have to win both games of the doubleheader to move up the conference standings. And so, what we do know is it'll be messy. Teams
Mm-hmm.
will bounce around a lot in the standings. And can you focus on the things that you can control? Can you bounce back from tough losses? Can you prove it? Can you follow up great wins? The team that's able to navigate those things mentally will have the best chance to survive because everybody's got talent.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a team we play in our conference right now that we don't look and say, wow, I wish we had that player or this player. Everybody's got good players. And not only do they have good players, they have veteran players. And so we talked about some of the newcomers. Maybe it's not the best time to go through this at Wartburg right now with some young players to go along with our veteran players when it seems like we look across the diamond and it's all 23 to 25-year-olds, and we're gonna, we named some names there to you that are 18, 19. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not the best time to be going through that, but I'll go to battle with our guys any day, obviously. But the team that can survive that can go against veteran, talented players day in, day out, and not beat themselves up mentally, not get focused on things they can't control. Navigating that will be the key for any team to finish where they want to finish in the ARC this year.
Oh man, and certainly what a battle it is. Every year it's a grind here, certainly. And then as we again wind things down here, again we talked about some of those guys that would really make an impact here. A lot of guys are coming up through the ranks here as well. Again, shout out to Coach Steckline, Pleasant Valley. I said give a shout out there. Nabel is back, and what a great guy to have in Iowa as well. They mentioned Funk. You mentioned all those guys, man. I love how each of these guys has that Iowa tie, and it seems like most of them it got some experience here, Coach. At least a little bit last year. I know you mentioned Cole Greider. Just got an inning last year, but you got guys that seem to have gotten more and more. How important is it for you, despite the loaded field that you have on your roster? How important is it for you to get guys time? And I know that may sound like a interesting or odd question, but I can only imagine it's one of the toughest things when you have the field of talent that you do, trying to navigate, okay, how do you put one guy ahead of the other here? But uh, I'm just going to try and do that for you. But how important is it been for you to make sure guys get time in some way? Because it does seem like you do that. You allow guys to get their time and work their way up in the process.
So I'll start here in practice. Our fall practices are very live based.
Mm-hmm.
We do a version of gameplay. I can't take credit for inventing gameplay. I'll give it to my friend Pete Lordson at Kirkwood, um, who's just been outstanding with the high school and small college coaches with his time
Mm-hmm.
and sharing his thoughts and idea even back when he was with the Guardians. Um, and Nyack before that when he was coming up the ranks. And so he's been generous with his time. So he showed us gameplay. And so that's kind of how we base our fall practices, more of that live setting. So guys get a lot of time that way, to your point. They get a lot of time to develop, but they also get a time then to show us what they can do. And we've done a live cage almost every single day of indoor practice. So we were looking the other day. I think guys are already up to about 30 at bats right now, and so they've had chances in practice. But to your point, if they've earned it, then we want to give them chances in the game too. We're not in the business of trying things in a game, excuse me, but we certainly, if you've earned some time and you're one of the top, depending on the position, but if you're the top guy or top two guys at a position, you've earned some time there. And that's really what the preseason is all about, or the first games of the regular season is all
Yep.
about. And I wish we were playing 6 games this weekend because we might run out 6 different lineups in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But right away here, week 2, we go to Florida and we're going to play 7 games in 6 days, and
Yep.
we're going to get an opportunity to see a lot of pitchers. I know that there's coaches that back off of Florida now because they want to throw their top guys every weekend. And maybe that helps with an at-large. Maybe I'll feel differently here in a couple of years. But for right now, I want to go to Florida and test our pitching depth. I think we have good depth, and I want to see, 9 to 10 people be able to throw in a varsity contest. We also have a couple JV games down there that I can't wait to see people.
Yeah.
We actually open up with our JV schedule, weather depending, obviously, this time of year, but we open with our JV schedule next Wednesday. And I'm excited to watch those guys get out there and compete a little bit. We don't necessarily have a JV team that's separate from a varsity team. We all practice together, but I'm
Yep.
excited just to test our depth and see more guys go out there and compete. And we were looking at some of the guys that were on the docket to pitch in that JV game next week, and it just shows the depth. We've got some really good young players that are going to toe the rubber that day against Marshalltown, and I can't wait to watch them throw. So yes, to your point, if a player's earned it through all of our live sessions in practice, we want to see them in the game, and I think we'll run out several third basemen. I think we'll run out a whole handful of outfielders, probably a few different catchers. And so, yeah, it makes it easy if you have like a Zach Walton at first base and you can just kind of pencil him in every day. That's pretty easy. But it's also interesting to do it the other way too, where you kind of have a battle early in the season. And usually you don't run 3 different third basemen out in the conference tournament. Somebody will win that spot, and,
Yep.
and that's good too. But it's good to see a lot of different faces here early on. And I'll end with this, Andrew, that our guys have been really selfless about that.
Yep.
When we've done team scrimmages or live periods in which we kind of run it like a football team, maybe that the starters get X amount of reps, and then it's less for the 2s, 3s, and 4s, or however deep we go at a certain position. The guys have been really selfless in that. I think about the third base battle. We mentioned a couple of those guys, and then Griffin Traha from Illinois. They've done nothing but just help each other out and support each other, and that makes it really fun. That people aren't territorial about their spots, and that they just want what's best for the team. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about how tough Rivers Conference is, and if we're gonna make a move up the standings for the first time in a number of years here, it's gonna have to be together as a team. There's
Yeah.
other teams out there that have probably more returning players, or probably more returning all conference players, or maybe their number one pitcher from last year, or what have you. But if we're going to do this thing, it's going to have to be collectively as a team, with a real selfless group of guys, and I think we have that.
No doubt about that. Well, hey, Coach. I know that we're so close to the season getting started. Can't wait for it again. Sunday doubleheader. Then you get the chance, like you said, a handful of games in Florida and some nice weather. So if we don't talk to you then, enjoy the start of the season. Enjoy Florida weather, and give a wave to us while you're there, while we're still in these sub-zero temperatures here.
We'll see if we can't bring some of that sunshine back to Iowa, melt some of the snow, so we can play, have a great spring of baseball. Appreciate you highlighting college baseball here too.
I like
I'm an
it.
Iowa high school baseball fan. Love that you do all that stuff for high school, but also appreciate you getting some college flavor into the program. Love the show, as you know. So have a great spring with your show as well.
Well, thank you very much. And hey, everybody, make sure to check out Wartburg Baseball. Coach Klunder and the rest of the gang are doing some great stuff there. And hey, we'll catch you around as well. Again, Wartburg Baseball this Sunday, doubleheader, and get the chance to check out them. And hey, check out what we'll be able to do and catch up what we can do with Wartburg as well. More coming your way later. But until then, and until we see each other next, stay safe on the base pass. Thanks again.